who may have just joined us. This is the 24-hour event on envisioning intelligences, and it takes that name from the third decade of the Places and Spaces exhibit, which you may remember the first decade featured static maps of science, the second decade interactive data visualizations, and this third decade, which we're just starting, and this event is very much part of the kickoff of this, is on envisioning intelligences. And so what we've been doing is we've been spending some time with the teams behind the works that are part of the Envisioning Intelligences inaugural year. And so it's great that we have another wonderful team here with another amazing work. This Envisioning Intelligences project seeks to look at intelligences including linguistics, kinesthetic communication, musical, emotional, and other intelligences by biological and technological life forms, with a focus on collaboration and coordination across life forms and intelligence types, to inspire discussion about existing and future sensors and actuators, memory and reasoning, exploration and communication, plus shared goals and desirable futures. And now we're going to look at cultural intelligence as it is reflected by and shared through memes. And I wanted to show you all this. We just got this. You can't see it. I have to hold it up just right. Anyway, it's a game that I got for my 8-year-old nephew called "What Do You Meme?" the Family Edition, and it's you pair weird situations with pictures of animals reacting, and you try to see who can create the best memes. So from a very young age, we're teaching how these things work, and I guess it was kind of a sign of my age or being culturally out of touch. I just read, I think it was Rolling Stone or New Yorker or something had the top 10 memes of the year, and I didn't recognize a single one. And I think that I'm on enough that I would have, but there were some really good ones on there too. So welcome to you all. I see that you have a panel in your slide deck that is introducing the team. So I'll let you do that. Would you like to run the slides? We can either do that or we can run them from here and you just say next, whatever works best for you.
I think we're all fine if you, since you already share, run through them, if that's okay. Yeah. Sure.
And then Meryl will be advancing the slides.
Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Cool. So, yeah, thanks, Todd and Meryl for the background. And thanks for having us. We're super happy to present our SciMaps here and this emotional echo of cultural intelligences, as we called it. And if you go to the next slide, before I would like to introduce the team actually that are all involved in this. So given the nature of this project, we had a team of data scientists, visualization designers, and a tech support, hardware, software specialists. And let me just walk you through them. We start with Felix Müller, who is a senior scientist, a senior data scientist, and a physicist by training. He's specializing usually in his daily work in complex systems and is an expert on network analytics. Christian is a biochemist by training, specialized in network-based methods for biomarker discovery and drug repurposing. And Iker is also a biologist specializing in multi-layer network models. So we do have a lot of biologists or biology-trained people here, given the nature of our institute, which is the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute for Network Medicine. But we always like to and love to expand our work in these network models across fields and across domains, as with the meme network, which was initially a project by Sebastian, who is a 3D artist, as well as Martin, the 3D artist in our team, and tech lead, who are both very fond of memes and supported us with the data set and with this visualization engine that we used, which is usually the virtual reality application. And then for this project, we made a video of it, as well as a poster that works as a static display. And myself, I was working mostly on the visualization part, and Philipp is also on our data scientist team, who is a visualization and web app expert. And of course, Jörg Menche, who is our Institute's director, who is making this all possible. Yeah, and if we go to the next slide, I would quickly show you our video that we produced that introduces basically the data set. And I'm not sure if the sound works, but I can also talk a bit. So the sound design was also done by Martin, who's actually also a sound engineer and a DJ. So yeah, and we focused on memes for a cultural reflection and reflection of societal topics that would be prevalent in our times. And I said before, the main resource was knowyourmeme.com. So we had year, tags, views counted, and the actual images collected in the dataset to build a node link diagram. And this network basically then represents this complex dataset. And we decided to represent each meme as a node in the graph and a thematic overlap as the link in the graph. So to represent the relationships among them that would go topic and tag related. Some meme highlights. I'm also not so much into memes as before I wasn't. Now I'm recognizing more and more. So yeah, as I've said before, the data patterns that we see should reflect the relationships and cultural occurrences, and we do lay out and position the nodes given certain features of it. So either view counts or tags, topics related. And as I mentioned before, this is actually a view of the virtual reality application that is an interactive app that works also on screen, obviously, but would literally be supporting a more exploratory view of the data set. So one could just literally walk through it by themselves if the VR app runs. Yeah, and if you go to the next slide, we wanted to focus on 3 different topics that we discovered as the dataset being quite interesting. So we had first next slide, please. We had first politics, which I will talk about later, and more detailed also my colleagues will introduce. The next one we had the screens, and next one we had also social media as a sort of zoom into the dataset of when and where those memes would be mostly popping up in the landscape. And as I said before, nodes would represent memes, and relationships or links would be representing the tags and the common topics that we would find in this data set. And the surrounding charts, the round charts, would represent the year and the terms counts of those specific meme terms and tags that we researched about. And in the middle, you would see a snapshot of a time network that would be represented in this very specific year of all the memes around, and especially the ones in color, the ones that we focused on with a specific tag. So if we go to the next slide, we would zoom into politics. That has become one of the most notable and consistent sources of memes that also seem to peak during the election years. And on the graph to the right, we see exactly that, with 2020 as our choice of network zoom in. And the memes are, in this case, a way to engage quickly and emotionally with political events that express interest and support. Mm-hmm.
That's social media. Sorry.
Sorry. Oops. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, and if you go to the next, we would see thank you. We would see a snapshot of the Dogecoin, and then here we would have the politics, as I said before, with Stop the Steal meme that would be highlighted in orange in the subgraph. Yeah, and as I said before, it's a sort of snapshot of our cultural reflection of when specific memes of a political landscape would be popping up. And the Stop the Steal was chosen as it was the symbol of finding the truth in the noise, let's say. And if you go to the next one, we would zoom into the television-related one, where we would have Netflix, streaming, HBO, and other, or Disney as a sort of tag that we would focus on, with the Baby Yoda drinking soup as the symbol of quiet judgment in this case. And to walk you through more details of these three topics. I would like to give it to Felix now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. I would like to talk a bit more about the political cluster. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes, thank you. Yeah, let's dive into this very dense, even extraordinarily dense cluster here, because the fact that this subcluster is so dense mean that they are getting referenced very often, and that could be understood as these memes being very resonant in a way, and that they are getting a lot of attention recently. And well, attention is for a meme what food is for a living being, right? So they have a lot of, in a way, a lot of energy, a lot of potential getting reference, and also releasing or causing new political memes. And also very characteristical in this for these political memes is the fact that the reference that are tagged as being political stays typically also political itself, unlike for many other categories. Like a meme from sports can quickly and easily be converted into a musical one in the next generation, let's say, or vice versa. And these tag of a meme being political is also getting more and more, or is accumulating more and more in the recent years, showing that this is indeed a very vibrant topic for many people, obviously. The next slide, please. Yes, what we can always do is we can look at the trends for specific terms. And here I want to directly compare politics as like a meta category for a lot of memes with catchphrase or music. And as you can already see, these political memes, they are getting a lot of attention since 2015. We have this dip here in 2021, but this is only because basically the COVID pandemic took over. Not all of them, but a larger fraction of the memes. But they are getting back being more and more political in the very recent years. And also, what's very interesting that when you compare these also meta categories, you can see these peaks also of very flat regions, and that can be always linked back to, well, actual political or actually societal events. And also very interesting is to see the delay of these meme peaks or coming with a certain delay, being an echo of what's happening out there. Or maybe sometimes it's even the other way around, that the meme can even trigger something, some events in the real world. And next slide, please. So in a way, memes can be echoing what is happening in the, like, also big stages in the real world. And here, when we look at these Trump, Obama, Biden curves, you can see how these in the meme world, in the internet world, in the digital world, let's say, how they get resonant. For example, it's interesting, I think, that then for the first presidential campaign for Obama, it was, I think, 2008, there was only like a minor hill of this attention, but the second period got a lot more attention here. And Trump also seems to be, well, the better source of energy for memes than Obama or Biden. And so as you can see here, these very coarse-grained views, or these very coarse-grained perspective is already showing that memes are not behaving, obviously, like newspapers or TV news. So they have their own, like, intrinsic resonance potential, and probably more important, that they come with a very complex interplay to other memes. Next slide, please. So for us, coming from biology, or for me with my background in physics, we look at these networks, and analyze how a meme slowly change into another meme or triggers the occurrence of something else, right? So we see things being born and dying, and most of them have a very short lifetime. So a meme typically, have a lifetime of a couple of months, but some have a very deep impact, and clusters of descendants appear close to them. So they trigger a lot of descendant memes and can even cause like a wave through the digital space of these meme resonance space, if you like. And also a very neat things about these networks is that they induce a notion of distance between nodes. And in the next slide, I just compared. That's another descendant cloud of the Trump topic here. And at the next slide, we can look at the distances between, and I picked here again Trump, Obama, Trump, Biden, and Biden, Obama as tags, as like the distances of nodes that are associated with these terms. And interestingly, like first of all, these distances, they seem to be very close, but they are still significantly different. And it appears that Trump and Obama are closer to each other than Trump and Biden, or even Biden and Obama, like on this meme network understanding, right? And what does these distances even tell us? So I think it could be seen as an indicator of our collective synaptic associability, right? So memes and their dynamics are not operating on a very analytical level. They don't follow rules of pure logic. So they are not acting rational. And at the next slide, you would see how these connections from one slide to another would resemble such synaptical activity in our brain. And now the question is, what kind of brain is behind that, right? So it could be seen as our collective societal hive mind in REM sleep. And we think that these memes can be seen as like a subconscious thoughts from all of us mapped into this digital space. And their complex interplay is a form of echo and like organic manifestation in silico, if you will, of our human swarm intelligence. And the next slide, I think I have another example from the screen cluster. So that's just to give you another example where we would consider the subnetwork of screens associated memes coming from streaming platforms such as Netflix and Disney, but also coming from old school TV shows. And first of all, this subnetwork is structurally surprisingly similar to the political one. It is a bit sparser though, and these categories come with a somewhat cleaner separation. But without going into too much detail here, I want to emphasize the synaptical metaphor again. At the next slide, I think I have a signal propagating through these screen subnetwork here. And that shows basically the evolution of a group of memes and their transformation over time. And after some steps, the semantics can be already very different from the starting meme. And this again is very similar how on a genetic level a new species is derived or born, right? By mutation and by selection pressure. So in a way, we have a lot of similarities to, organic life forms, or at least to a very complex dynamic behavior that shows similarities to what we know from biological entities. I think that's it from my side, and I want to give the stage to Iker. I think it's next, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Next slide, please. So thank you for having me here also. As Chris introduced previously, I'm a biologist. and I have been working a long time with multiplex networks, which is visualizations like the thing that you are seeing right now on the screen, which allow us easily to pretty much slice information from networks into different scales. This example that you are seeing here is from a fully interactive application that has been developed by Friedrich, who is also connected today, slicing the information of the mean similarity network across years. So each one of the different layers here are representing similarity of the different memes and their topics across time. So the layer in below, next slide, please, represents 2010. Can you trigger the next animation, please? There we go. So pretty much the information that is encoded in this visualization is telling us how the similarity of these different memes are actually changing with time. And the capabilities of this application have to do with also being able not only to visualize this information, but also easily interact with it, remove layers, remove information based on different tags. And if you trigger the next animation, you will see what we are now calling the multiplex echo of social media. Please, next. There we go. So this would be the example of the echo triggered by 4chan, which obviously was a much more higher source for this meme information back in the start of the 2010s and also back in the 2000s. And of course, this is completely different from the next one. Please click 2 times if you can. And again, there we go. Which has to do with the echo of YouTube, which has been mainly a staple through not only the 2000s, but also the 2010s and even actually, which allow us to not only understand how this the memes of each one are interacting through years, but also allow us to understand if they are staying as staples or if they are becoming more secondary in a way. If you trigger the next one, which will be the case for TikTok, we will just see the huge effect that TikTok had during the pandemic, pretty much. Between 2018, which is the start of the huge campaign and the advertising campaign that we all knew about during those years for TikTok, it really exploded during the pandemic, became pretty much with Instagram the main source of meme information during those years. And also as a biologist, I tend to bring things to my side, as you can imagine. So if you go into the next one, you will see a video on how this information can pretty much be expanded from the concepts that we build with the meme information to the biology data, pretty much. So what you see here is a good example of synchronization of information across layers of biology. So pretty much this is genes that you can see in different levels of biology. Layers represent prostate, skeletal muscle, heart, lung, the different tissues in human. And the genes are pretty much connected to themselves across each one of the different layers, which really allows us to not only understand which layers are more important on disease. In this case, what we are representing is genes from 2 different diseases. So the purple ones are representing one disease, the green ones are representing a second disease, and the yellow ones are representing the overlapping region between both diseases. This allows us not only to understand how these 2 diseases are actually interacting, but most importantly, where this synchronization is actually occurring for both of them. If you go into the next video, you will see an example with 3 diseases, pretty much. And again, we can expand across the very same concepts, but this also allows us to understand if we, for example, have information on clusters, on different meaningful biology that we defined, we can actually filter by this and then understand how these different clusters are behaving in order to give us the relationship between the 3 diseases. In this case, they are represented as purple, green, and red, with the yellow ones again representing the genes that are existing across different disorders. Next, please. I think that's it also from my side. And in general, I would like to finish with a finishing message for the overarching presentation. Let's say, we just hope that we were able to give you a glimpse into our vision, into how memes have evolved during the last decade into a major form of collective expression for society, and also how they represent the pretty much how society responds to historical events. We expect to have been able to show how the analysis of their dynamics allows to understand the collective evolution of societal expression from the point of view of multiple different scales and spanning the whole complexity of social interaction. With this, I think I can finish. Thank you so much from the whole team. And yeah, that's my
Great. Yes, thank you so much. This is really fascinating stuff. I have some questions. If people have questions, please type them into the Q&A. I'm just curious, how difficult is it difficult to portion memes into groups like politics or screens? I guess I'm asking because some of the things that I see don't seem political on the surface. You have to understand, like, for instance, the cultural things that are going on at the time to even make them. One that I'm thinking of that I saw recently was someone saying, well, don't let them tell you that you can't stay home and take care of your children and serve your man, like, which seems like a lifestyle choice, but it's deeply political in our moment, how difficult is that? How do you determine the categories and whether a meme fits a particular?
I could maybe answer to that. So first of all, like from the raw data perspective, these memes are often coming already with like metadata, with tags already. So it wasn't always our choice to tag them as being political or not. Whether they are political or not is not, and was also not entirely clear to me from which source they would derive this kind of category, right? But I think, or how I would do it, is I would also look at the history of these memes. So following exactly these network paths back and contextualize these memes according to their well-loaded history. And when it's coming mostly from the political directions, I would give them also with a certain tendency the tag political. I think this is, or at least for our biological networks, this is how we would even contextualize genes that are not so well studied. Let's say we would look at their neighborhoods and try to give them like features, characteristics that are known from the proximity, right? I don't know. I don't think that in the raw data people have done that, but I do think that depending on the meme and depending on the impact of such a meme, they would look at the context indeed, right?
I can
so
maybe
even a musical meme can be political by that sense, yeah.
So, if I may, like the data set was basically mostly sourced, or all of it was sourced from Know Your Meme, so it's already very well categorized. And it was also like Sebastian actually got it so that we have something where we have like ground truth that's working, and then we can try all kinds of clustering, layouting, whatever stuff, and see if it actually works with this data, like if it actually produces meaningful results. So it's also kind of like a benchmark data set to see if other things, like if other methods work, because with the biological data, it's always very messy. It's rarely well labeled and all of these things. So with this data set, it's a bit more like it's very well labeled already.
Maybe to add here, both have explained this well, but maybe one little detail, that this was literally just a scatter cloud to be imagined as such. It was not a graph per se. So we came up with one method, one approach to create a network out of this based on topics related, or introducing links as relationships based on text that we categorized as to be related. So there is multiple ways of creating a network in this sense. So it's not I wouldn't say the network itself is a ground truth, but the data set for certainly was. But a network that we created is certainly something that could be interpreted differently. So maybe it would be more sparse, it would be less sparse. But that was just one way of how we chose to do it. Just as an add.
So thank you. Yeah, we have a question that appeared in our Q&A. What tech stack have you used to render this visualization? Did your team have any difficulty rendering these many models and screen cubes in a singular scene? If yes, how did you all tackle that?
So I would quickly just say that we used for the actual video that you saw, we used the virtual reality platform, the Data Diver, as we have in-house, that is developed by our lead, Sebastian Pirch, who might want to answer this question, if I may.
Yes, I already answered it in the chat. This was done by combining about 20,000 little thumbnail pictures of memes, which are, I think, 128 or 128 pixels big, into several textures of the maximal allowable size. And this was tiled on the cubes using different UV coordinates. So it was a bit challenging, but not too much.
Thank you. So I noticed when you showed the visualization of Obama, Biden, and Trump, and the amount of meme activity that they had, my thought was that Trump would love that because it fits the narrative of Biden being low energy and that he barely got much meme activity even while president. Is there how does one explain it? Because as you say, it doesn't necessarily follow what's in the news. Is it simply who's the most cartoonish, who's loudest, who's the biggest, how does that, can you predict meme success at all from this?
Yeah, that would be the big thing, right? To predict exactly that, to really go, like, as a physicist, I would indeed think in terms of energy, but there are also a lot of different types of sort of potential energy, or what brings attention to these memes, what's making them thriving is coming from very different sources. We didn't look into this predictions too much. That would be, if it were an actual science project, that would be exactly the direction I would go for. I can't really answer your question, but it's true that is a very interesting question. And what I would say from my gut feeling that I'm getting now from the data set is we really have to think about these attention, or about the energy for each meme being or coming from a very non-rational sort of complex interplay, a dynamics that is given that it's coming from us humans, but it is stirred up in the digital world in a way that we don't control really. So it can be it's getting positive feedback loops that is in a way not in our hands, if you will, because there are so many individuals playing with it, as that the collective dynamic sort of is taking over. And that's also a phenomenon that we know from biology, right? Like the cell itself doesn't care about the specifics, about the molecular machineries that are going on in order to produce energy. It only sort of feels the statistical average amount of energy getting from these processes, and then do things with that. So in a way, this hierarchical behavior of this dynamics can be also understood as taking whatever energy it is, and it may come from very like unlogical sources, or from like positive feedback dynamics, that is not necessarily reflected in what a single newspaper would write about an event. What is or what are actual facts? It's not a fact-based thing, right? So as you said, that would I also think that Trump would like it, but you could also completely turn it around, that this energy can be understood as based on unreliable sources, right? So it's nothing. This kind of energy can't be like positively or negatively annotated. It's coming from a very like stirred up complex dynamics underneath that is hard to predict. At least maybe it could be understood. But yeah.
Do you did you get a sense if we were to sort of diagnose the culture, and I know that's a large term, but like based on the evidence of these memes, what could we say about the way that we our attention is led, how things become popular, or as you say, kind of like burst of activity and then die out? Are there any sort of large things you can sort of tell about the patient on the table here, just from the evidence of the memes?
I mean, what is interesting is that what we also discussed a bit is that this is a snapshot of like up to 2022, right? So this might actually be a bit different, I guess, or maybe a lot if we source more data again. But yeah, I think it was interesting to see, given that. So I don't know many memes, or up to the point I also still don't know many memes, but it was interesting to follow up on their like development, as also Felix said, of like how like one would propagate to other parts in the network, and well, given the tags and given the relationship links that we introduced, but this would also be again very different too if you create the network very differently. So yeah, maybe someone else also wants to answer this.
Yeah, well, I also see that as in a way, as a development that is not entirely new. Like you could even compare it to, let's say, the economical system or the finance system that humans were building up, but now it is doing things on their own, right? It's like we have created like a universe out there that is deeply interconnected with our daily actions, but in a way we don't really control the intrinsic dynamics of that, right? So the question is whether we want to be controlled back from these machineries, right? So what does it really tell us? Hard to say. Well, when we are talking about the echo here, then I think it's like looking into a blurred mirror. It's telling us a lot about ourselves, but the question is always, how do we like also individually deal with this picture that is coming back? What kind of truth we are willing to give that? Like, is it blurry because it's coming from a very like self-made intrinsic uncontrolled dynamics that has nothing to do with that with us anymore, or is it showing us something that we can't see through another glass, let's say? And this is exactly how we should like try to interpret that. But we should be also like, I have also two kids, and they are playing a lot of well, not too much, but they are already kind of, you know, very much connected to the social media world and to the digital spaces. And I'm always trying to be positive about it, but you shouldn't be controlled about it, and you shouldn't be also too, I think, shouldn't be too much controlled by the view that is coming back from these systems. And this is also what one of our motivation was, to really understand better with our means, right? What is going on there, to really understand what is like their subconsciousness in a way, and to really understand what is and and even the metaphor, seeing them as maybe the dreams of our hive mind, is also telling us a bit how to interpret things, because I wouldn't also take my dreams as being entirely true, but they carrying a certain, thing, a certain communication.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have to ask just here the sort of nuts and bolts question. I'm always interested in group dynamics, and this is a large group together on this project. What's the secret for a good collaboration and a good successful work project like this?
Motivation and skills.
Motivation and skills?
Yeah,
Can you explain that?
Yeah.
to elaborate a bit more on, on Philipp's answer, which is totally true and aligns with what I would have said, but just to explain it a bit. With introducing the team, I tried to introduce that we are also like super interdisciplinary, as you saw, and we're not coming from a meme or internet network expertise field even. So we're kind of biology spectrum up to data science, up to 3D artists or arts and technologies. So the spectrum in our lab is pretty much covered. Like there's much more actually. And like the secret, I don't really know what the secret is, but probably this interdisciplinarity really helps, and being like intrinsically motivated on like we have some passionate meme researchers here. And some people that are passionate about visualizations, and some that are passionate about finding out data science questions and explore an actual data set that is not domain specific, or like any domain actually really can be like covered with network analysis or can be analyzed by it, as you saw. And we tried to incorporate a few things that we would usually ask to biology or biological networks here, also to a very other domain network. If anyone
Exactly,
else wants
that was also a big fun, I think, for all of us, right? To unleash our methods and tools to such a very, very different network, or at least coming from a very different data source, dealing with very different things. But then in the end, it's structurally very, very similar. And it was fun to see what our machinery can do to this kind of data, right? I think that was not only for me, also like a fun factor really to work with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it started out as a fun project actually, and we presented this in the actual application use case where Sebastian and Martin would present this at the Ars Electronica Center with Felix telling a data story about it, and in a more exploratory way. So it started as a fun project, and it turned out to be so interesting enough to live on for at least a year to present this now as a snapshot of 3 topics that we would like to highlight. And it might, well, we even thought of like sourcing the data again in 2025, since it might have changed, and compare the networks maybe even and check out what other memes would now have popped up. I mean, COVID was a huge explosion. Like we saw a lot, 2020 being quite a highlighting year. But maybe there's more.
Yeah, I think that would be a huge temptation after you've done this work, because you're probably more attuned to memes, and you probably are coming at them with, a bit more understanding of how they work and move throughout the culture, and just to encounter new ones and say, how do these fit in, or how these have appeared in a different time? All those questions seem like they'd be interesting to follow up. Just a last question: is there any for maybe even especially for those who are unfamiliar with memes, are there any that you encountered during this project that really struck you with the sophistication or the elegance or the humor, the subversive quality of the meme itself? Any that particularly stood out? And it's okay if you don't have one. I forget them immediately after I see. This is kind of the nature of the thing.
No, actually, when we explored this, also starting with this Ars Electronica project, I got to know a lot of culturally relevant things that or insiders that I just wasn't aware of. I'm like always like, I don't get these inside jokes of the Gen Z and above people, and with this Rickroll, for example, meme, or with the Dogecoin. I mean, Sebastian is shaking his head. How can you not know this? But I didn't know before, and I kind of now feel a bit more in the picture.
Yeah.
I also don't have a favorite meme. I started to look at them as like a cloud of things, but when I look at specific memes, then I'm not always, but from time to time it's fascinating how things can be brought together and also like condensed to only three words or four of a message that can be very harsh or very directed or very even like pointing in a completely different direction. So that is a way of condensing messages and phrases that can be fascinating, and sometimes they are really intelligent, I have to say. Most of them appears to be, I would say, noise, like in a in that way, but yeah, from time to time you can encounter indeed very nice, intelligent memes. That's true.
I would like to add something to this also, as somebody who actually consumes really a lot of memes. And I think for the people like me who know a lot of memes, it is also like an emotional language in a way. Like we have different sets of cat pictures in our chat that just are able to communicate so much emotion and background in a simple, nearly hieroglyphic way. So that is a very important and interesting part about the whole meme culture thing, that it's relatable and that it's like an emotional language in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it becomes the new smileys or whatsoever. I mean, it probably is already.
Yeah, I would also like to add to that like somehow what Felix said, that it can condense meaning in such a, like it brings it to a point somehow. It's also like I'm myself also looking a lot at memes, and for me it's it's like it's a form of poetry, even like this condensing things down to such a short message, and then still referencing a lot of things. As Chris mentioned, you don't always get them. Like, I mean, I'm personally, I think, recently checked my folder, and I think the first memes that I started saving were around 2005. And the folder is really, really big now.
Yeah.
And so I see things, it's like, I don't know, if you listen to hip hop, for example, you also see that they reference each other a lot, but you only see it if you listen to a lot of hip hop, because obviously otherwise you wouldn't have the references. And it's a bit similar, and it's very, to me, it's very exciting how it can also be shaped by culture, but how it also shapes culture. And and what I liked about this project is that it confirmed some of my, I don't know, like theories, like also especially with the rise of Trump memes in 2016. Which I think is not only like how do you say, like organic, but also forced in a way. Like they have a good social media team that actually, and Trump himself, I mean, he posts memes about himself that are actually not that bad.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they definitely know about this power and they use it, which is exciting. And I think it definitely needs more eyes on this sphere, also like scientific eyes.
I mean, that highlights something, even that this is a sort of recursive thing. Like one as an individual can influence this landscape of memes, of course, but then it kind of procreates and emerges on its own, and then it reflects your own thinking maybe again. So it's like a loop even that you can influence, but then is influencing you as well. So this is like this cultural phenomena that we wanted to highlight also.
Right. Yeah, it's a weird dynamic, because I remember when during the last presidential election in the States, when Kamala Harris got some social media buzz. She seemed to be building some traction there. And the advice was like, don't try to create a moment, because that will immediately flag it as false. And so that idea that you have to be really canny at how you use these and how they're employed, because the minute it smells of manipulation, that people will turn off. So thank you so much for being here and for taking some time out of what is just a really busy time of the year. I appreciate you coming. I know some will be coming back. And so thank you again to the team. And this is a great project, and we're so happy to have it as part of the exhibit. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah.
You too.
Good.
All right.